Alrighty guys, this is a color portion of this, and so all I'm going to demonstrate in here is red and probably just orange. I mean, really what I should do is red, yellow, and orange, but I just don't have the time for that. But I want to show you how you're going to mix just a single color with its tints and its shades, and then a secondary color with its tints and its shades, and then you can pick it up from tertiary from there. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is that you need to designate on your color wheel where the pure color is going to go. So that's going to be either the color that comes right out of the tube, or the first color that you initially mixed. Okay, so on this you have got your pure color, and then you're going to have 3 tints and you're going to have 3 shades. So the way that I figured that out is I'm in my red slice and I just went tint, tint, tint. There's my pure color, and so this is going to be shade, shade, shade. Okay, so probably what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show red, and then I'm going to make its lightest tint and its darkest shade, maybe finish this, and then like start the orange, and because I want to show you how to do that. I tried to kind of clean off my palette paper. This is all just dry, so it's okay if I put paint on top of it. This is that gloss medium. In my other video with my tints and shades, I started putting that gloss medium in the paint, and it made a huge difference on workability. So I'm going to keep doing that, okay? I've got my paint palette here, and so I've got like my source paint, so I can bring that through, and then I'll start mixing. So I'm going to try and do this quickly because I'm kind of short on time. Here is my acrylic, and then on the inside is I've got my watercolor for a different video. Okay, so first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull paint from my paint palette. And for this color wheel, I'm gonna need red. And just for this slice, I'm just gonna start off with red, white, and black. Oop, and I contaminated my paint because I didn't wipe my palette knife off enough. So white and black. And I only need a little bit of black because black is intense. Okay. Okay, so first things first is I'm just gonna start with just plain red because I don't have to mix any colors to get red, and I need that pure color. So I'm gonna pick up some of this gel medium and mix it with that red just to start with. So you'd think that it's gonna be white in there, but it actually ends up turning clear, and it really just makes this paint so much smoother and easier to work with. Okay. So again, in my red slice, I'm gonna move this up just a little bit, and I'm gonna check and make sure you guys can still see it. So red. Okay, so I want 3 tints. So tint, 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 pure color, shade, shade, shade. So I'm gonna put red straight in that square there. I kind of put a little X on there. And I picked up some clean water. So I'm just gonna go straight in, and I want this to be nice and clean. And it's pretty see-through right now, so I'm gonna end up seeing that little X that I drew, so I don't want this to be see-through by the time that I'm done. So that means I'm gonna have to go with a couple more layers. So it could be see-through because I put like too much, I might have put too much gel medium in there. So it's kind of turned it more into a glaze rather than like a paint. So I'm just gonna let that dry, and I'm gonna come back to it later. So in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna mix up my tint and my shade. So the most outer one that I have here is going to be mostly white. So I'm just going to start by taking a little bit of red and adding it to this white pile. And then I'll just add more red as I go. So I'm going to come and pick up some of this gloss medium, which, guys, you really do need to use it. It makes such a big difference. Okay. So there's what I'm going to use for my tint, and hopefully I've mixed up enough that I can keep pulling from it. Okay, where's the brush I want to use? I want to use my angle brush. I'm going to dry it off. I'm going to pick up this tint. I'm going to go ahead and erase that R so I'm not fighting it. And okay, even though I'm kind of brushing fast, where it counts, like where I need to have a nice crisp line, I'm slowing down. Okay, because you're working from an outer edge, you should probably have something underneath that so that it doesn't get all over the table. At least it would be nice if you did that. Either that or you're gonna have to really make sure you clean up like right at the beginning. So I'm gonna clean up before it dries. Okay, there we go. There's my first tint. Okay, so my next one, I need it to be a little darker, so I'm gonna grab up a little more red. And I'm gonna mix it to what I've got. So it should just be a little bit more darker pink than the one that we just did. Okay, I'm gonna pick up a little bit more of that gel medium, just a little bit this time. Okay. And then I'm going to start my next one. So kind of globbing it on here, but just so I can spread it out. Okay, so I'm working fast where I need to, and then I'm slowing down where I need to also. So making sure that I'm going to stay inside those lines. So here again, this is where I'm kind of practicing pressure on my brush to assert kind of brush control and kind of help setting my lines. Okay, so there's that one. Now I need to go another step darker, so I'm gonna grab a little bit more red, and my total paint here is getting less and less. So I'm hoping I'm gonna have enough without having to grab more white and kind of start from the beginning. Ugh, we're gonna see. It's gonna be really close. Okay, so this is gonna be my last tint. Okay, so this is another thing that you've got to kind of pay attention to. If you don't want to be mixing a ton of paint for yourself all the time, you have to make sure that you get yourself enough paint to work from so that you're not constantly having to remix the same color over and over and over again. So here I'm like barely making it. I had to kind of stretch it with that gel medium, but then that thins it out. So it's looking a little rough over here on this side, but that's all right. Okay, now I'm going to go over that pure color again with the straight red. And I might have to do that a few times, especially since I didn't erase that X out. I have to make sure that that gets covered up eventually. So even with 2 layers, I can still see it. So here's your PSA warning on that, is erase, erase, erase. All right, now I need to make shades. And I know I would need more layers of this, but I'm just gonna work right from that pile of red. So I'm gonna add a little, no, I don't need any more gloss medium. I used enough. So now I'm just gonna pick up just a tiny bit of black, because black is so much more intense than white. And I'm gonna hope to goodness, well, I would think I went too dark. I still might be able to use this though. I think this would be a good like middle shade for me. So I'm gonna use it as my middle shade. And then I can make darker out of that, but then I gotta start over like a new pile. So middle shade would be right here. And I need a smaller brush for that. I'm gonna use this round brush. Got a little too much water in my brush, so I saw it kind of running a little bit. And I might have just a little bit too much of that gel medium in here because it's pretty thin in some places. Okay, so to get my dark value, my darkest shade, I can just pick up a little bit of black and mix that in over here on the side. that's going to be a nice dark shade. And I'm going to use my smallest brush that I've got for that. And so guys, what you have to concentrate on is that you have to like match your tints and your shades across the board. So that's too much water in it. Dry your brushes out. So I have to make sure that that inner shade, like all my colors are going to be matching kind of that same darkness. Okay. If you don't have the size brush that you need, I have really tiny small ones on my desk that you're more than welcome. They're in like a little mini pail. You can come up and grab what you need. Okay, so now I need to make my lightest shade because I went too dark too fast. So I've got to pull red here. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna mix it in with just a little bit of my medium shade. And then I should be good. So the way that this one works is it should be lighter. It should be lighter in value than this, but darker than this one. So let's check it. Yeah, it's not too bad. Okay, so let's talk about craftsmanship and points via craftsmanship. And I bet Miss Duncan's gonna come in and say bye to me, so you're gonna hear her on the video. These look really, really nice. These look really messy. So you'd get counted off on some craftsmanship. Bye.
Are you talking?
Yeah, I already told him on the video that you'd probably come and say bye to me.
Oh, bye.
Miss Duncan's going home, whereas I'm still at school.
Are you okay with everything?
I think so.
Okay.
That's why I'm doing that. All right, guys, so now I'm going to make orange, which is your secondary color. And so this is where intensity really comes into play, okay? And I think because I've showed you like tints and shades here, that I'm only really gonna show you how you really should correctly mix your secondary color, and then maybe I'll do the lightest tint and maybe I'll do the darkest shade. Okay, so we're talking about intensity, and when we talk about intensity, that is the amount of like the strength of the pigment via each color. So red is much stronger than yellow. So to make an actual accurate orange, you can't use equal amounts of red versus orange. You're gonna get red orange because red overpowers it. So you need a lot more yellow than you do red. So I'm probably just gonna go ahead and scoop like all of this yellow out onto the palette here. And then I'm gonna give myself just a little bit of red to pull from, because I need a lot of orange to make sure that I have enough for all of those. So just a little bit of red, okay? And when I say a little bit, I'm just gonna start with just a little bit. Okay, so hopefully the gray isn't gonna be too distracting underneath it. It kind of gives it a green, a little bit of a green. Okay, right there, that's a really good like golden yellow orange, but so we need to go just a little bit more. So I'm gonna keep picking up just like tiny bits of red. at a time. I don't want it to go off there. I'm going to scoot it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to grab just a little bit more. So notice that I'm grabbing like little teeny tiny amounts because it's much easier to go back and add more. Oh, and I'm starting to, uh-oh. Okay, I need to move that off of that gray. Oh, gross. My orange is gonna be gross. Get some of this gel medium in there. It's got all these like gray speckles in it. So lesson learned, do not mix your paint on top of a dried paint or it's gonna pick it up. Great, that's too much red. Okay, so I'm gonna try not to get flustered here. I'm just gonna roll with it. So like point wise, I'd probably count you off on that because that's kind of nasty looking and that's gonna like ruin your overall color wheel, the look of it. Okay. Okay, I think that'll work for my orange. It's a little more on the red side, but it'll work. And then I'm real bummed out that I ruined it from mixing it on the gray and it picked up all those like gray little snot buggers it almost looks like. So I'm gonna put, okay. So remember on the red, I had like where the pure color was. This time, I'm gonna erase out that X. And so here's where my pure color is gonna go. Oh, and look at the speckles of that, the gray paint. Isn't that gross? Ugh. All right, so lesson learned. So not only would I miss points for like this looking nice and messy, I would miss points for this junkiness here too. So don't do that. All right. Okay. Now I need to make a tint. So I'm gonna get I keep wanting to use my regular tissues. I'm gonna get my palette knife here and paper towel. I'm gonna clean off my palette knife because I need to pull some gray. Oops, I need to pull some white, excuse me. Ugh, and what I have is really clumpy and I'm not sure if it's gonna be enough to fill up that lightest tint square, but we're gonna try. And pick up some of that gel medium that already had some of that orange in there. All right, so there's my like orange creamsicle tint. Get my brush. I'm gonna erase that O. I'm going to, since I'm gonna be working at an edge, I'm gonna put something underneath my color wheel so I don't have to worry about it getting on the table. Okay, and this time I got this paint a lot thicker. Like I can see those chunks of gray in there, but this paint has covered up, whereas on this original orange, it's thin enough to where I can see the gray like coming through it. So make sure you're not using too much gel medium or that you have water in your brush. Okay, and now last one is I'm gonna make the darkest tint, and so I'm just gonna grab some black that I've had, and I'm just gonna come straight over here. I'm just gonna mix that right up. So blacks with oranges are gonna give you good browns. And I need to pick up a little more black because it's not as, like the darkness of it is not matching, there we go, the same darkness of that red that I had down. Okay. So there we go. Okay. So then the next part that I would move on, I would finish out all those. And then if I had any more orange left over, then I would mix red into that orange to make it more of a red orange, and I'd complete that slice. So that's how you guys are going to work this. Okay. I don't know how many of you, the easiest way to do this is if you do all your primaries first, because they're straight out of the tube. So if you just do red, yellow, and blue first, you don't have to do any color mixing. Then I would suggest on when you do your secondary colors, make a big old batch, okay? You can keep, like, if it's really big, then you can keep some of what you made into your paint palette. And so then the next day that you come to it, then you can just add, like I said, if I'm making red orange, I'd want to make a big old batch of orange, like a really big batch of orange. So not only can I use it for that, then I can use it for yellow orange or red orange. Or your other option is just to paint it fresh, or just to mix it up every day. So you can do that also. All right. So I think that's really all I've got to show you. So I've had some like do's and don'ts, you know, just kind of learning from my mistakes. So I don't think many of you will be getting too far on this by the time that I come back. But that is how we're going to fix that color wheel, and then we'll be doing something on the back when we're done with it. Okay.